Stand and fight me! Shemen hudlop nemergue! Stand and fight!
When it comes to the most cinematic experiences in gaming, there are a lot of great games out there that give you that deep level of immersion and cinematic quality. But you could argue that the conversation begins and ends with Red Dead Redemption 2. It's been years since Red Dead launched, and yet it remains one of the most cinematic games, or the most cinematic game ever made. But recently, as a PC gamer, I got to experience a new game that not only challenges Red Dead in this way, but stands alone as a complete work of art. This game is Ghost of Tsushima. Now, Ghost of Tsushima is not as big of a project as Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is heralded and well known for being one of the most expensive games ever developed, and developed by one of the biggest teams ever in gaming history. Ghost of Tsushima is not as big of an undertaking. However, despite that, it manages to exude such a high level of cinematic quality. The way you feel immersed in the world, the changing time of day, the changing weather, changing surroundings as you venture throughout the world. It really is on a level few games are able to reach. Now, how does it stack up against Red Dead Redemption 2? Well, you could argue there really hasn't ever been a game before or since Red Dead Redemption 2 that has the level of detail and fidelity that it does. And There are people who believe Ghost of Tsushima is the greatest game ever made, and there are people who believe that Red Dead Redemption 2 is the greatest game that was ever made. I'm not here to change anybody's mind at all. All I'm here to do is shed light on two absolute masterpiece games. These games are phenomenal, and if you haven't played either one of them, I recommend you play them both, or whichever one you haven't played, as soon as possible. The combat is enjoyable in both, slow-paced, steady. It doesn't feel like a video game. They have a level of immersion that is so much more in depth than most games that you play. The thing about video games in recent times is everything is sped up. Everything is meant to be instant gratification all the time. Constant action. That most games you play nowadays, you can't walk 10 feet without having something to do or something to kill or something to find. These two games steer away from that. Red Dead more so than Ghost of Tsushima, but even Ghost of Tsushima lets you breathe a lot. It lets you have time to just explore the world, see the beauty of the masterpiece that they built, see the scenery. Like I said, the changing weather, changing times of day, there's so many different variations that can happen, so that even the same location, if you come back to it hours later in gameplay, it might look completely different than it did the first time you were there, and it'll take your breath away all over again. This is the same in Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 boasts one of the most detailed and intense weather and time of day simulations we've ever seen in a game. And it's definitely more in depth than Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima has a few variations of weather and a few variations of lighting from time of day and things like that. Red Dead is definitely more detailed and a little more variable. There's different things like the speed you can ride your horse. In Red Dead, you can probably adjust between about 10 different speeds, from a slow walk to a trot, to a fast trot, to a medium trot, to a full run, to a full sprint, and more. There's so many different variations just in how you can ride your horse. In Ghost of Tsushima, it's more simplified. You have a, slow walk, fast walk, and then a full sprint, and that's pretty much all you have as far as riding your horse. Still very detailed. The transition from walk to sprint is really good in Ghost of Tsushima. As he ribs the horse kind of rears back and then lunges into a sprint. It's very believable and very beautiful to look at, the animations of the horse and everything. Red Dead's horse is a little more lively, a little more like a live animal, reacts to more things within the world, and has more of a personality. You actually bond with your horse. The more bonded you are with your horse, the calmer your horse will be, the longer you can ride it at high speeds. As far as I know, in Ghost of Tsushima, there's no stamina for the horse, so you can ride full blast, full sprint as long as you want, whereas in Red Dead your horse will tire out. There's different levels of how real do you want it to be, and some of that comes down to art style and game style. Ghost of Tsushima, they had a very clear art style they were going for, and they wanted it to look a certain way, and they captured that so perfectly. Whereas in Red Dead, their art style is basically ultra realism. Even as detailed as the grass itself, you can see when you traverse the wilderness, you see the grass is actually different lengths even in the same space, as if animals have been grazing on it. Wild horses and goats and cows and everything have been grazing on the grass, so it's not even all the same length in the same area, which is exactly how grass is in real life when you're in the wilderness. So it's amazing, that level of detail and custom handcraftedness of Red Dead Redemption 2. Ghost of Tsushima is handcrafted and gorgeous in its own ways, but it doesn't have quite that level of detail. It doesn't have quite that level of I mean, you could almost say like an insane level of detail that Red Dead has. But what Ghost of Tsushima does have is a very clear picture of what it wants to be. It wants to make you feel like you are a samurai living in this gorgeous world. And the world that it's based on over there is absolutely stunning to behold in real life. So they wanted to exude that. They wanted you to see it on the screen at all times. The beauty of the wilderness, the beauty of the scenic places that you go. And I haven't even seen everything in Ghost of Tsushima. I still haven't seen the whole island. I haven't seen the expansion, Iki Island. So there's a lot I still haven't done. But just what I've seen so far, it just makes it so clear that Ghost of Tsushima is a love, like a passion project for the people that made it. They truly loved what they were working on and what their goal was, and they were dedicated to accomplishing that goal. And you could say the same thing for Red Dead Redemption 2. That game is excruciatingly detailed, and you can't put that much fine detail and love into a game unless you are passionate about it, unless you love going to work every day and building this handcrafted, gorgeous world that you're going to be able to share with others. And you see here in Ghost, this is one of the shrines that are damaged by the Mongols. They damage a lot of the shrines so that people can't worship at the shrines. So it's kind of like a little mini game where you have to traverse to get up to the shrine without being able to use the normal pathway. And it's very cool. It's a little puzzle-ish, which I don't like puzzles in games. It's certainly not my favorite thing. But it doesn't feel like a chore. It just feels natural. It feels really immersive. And the payoff when you get to the top of the temple or the shrine is usually stunningly beautiful. And it's like everything else in this game, it has a level of like cinematic to it that is really, really impressive. As you see, you go through all this work, you climb all the way up here, you do all this, and then in a moment here you're going to see the payoff after all this kind of figuring out how to get to the top. You'll see the payoff, which is truly very impressive. Of course, I'm struggling to figure out where to go next. I know in Ghost there is eventually a grappling hook that you get that allows you to traverse even more complex areas and stuff like that, and I look forward to that. Little more gamey, little less realism. I like more realism, less gaminess, but I'm sure the grappling hook is enjoyable enough to kind of help you forget that it's kind of gamified. Do you see the view from up here? Absolutely gorgeous. Now, one thing that one of the details about Ghost of Tsushima, here I'll let you see the cinematic shrine. I mean, just look at that landscape. Look at the beauty. There are a few games that just like dump gorgeous scenery over your head like a bucket of water. Besides these two games, I mean, they're both like this. They just, I don't know, just that level of cinematic quality, the level of immersion, and then you're right back into gameplay. And one of the things that I love about both of these games is they kind of just let you free in the world. You know, Red Dead's a little more structured. You have, you know, your main characters like Dutch and different ones give you main story missions, but there's tons of stuff to do besides the main story missions. There's so much that you can find and experience. One thing I like a little bit more about Red Dead 2, but I'm definitely in the minority when it comes to gamers, I like games that let you just be. They just let you be in the world. If you don't want to fight, you don't have to fight. If you don't want to do missions, you don't have to do missions. You can literally just live in the world and explore. So you see, like in Red Dead, you have a little more wilderness type of encounters like this. So far in Ghost of Tsushima, the only attackers that I've experienced other than the Mongols are bears, and the bears are kind of all the same from what I've experienced so far. Whereas in Red Dead, you have mountain lions, you have coyotes. The coyotes don't really attack you, they're more scared of you, but you have snakes. In certain parts of the map, you even have wild lizards. They don't attack you, but you'll see them roving about and even hunting. And you have the wolves, you have bears, you have grizzly bears, which are massive and terrifying. So you have a little more. It doesn't happen all the time, which is one of the beauties of Red Dead 2. You don't get attacked by bears all the time. There's not wolves around every corner. It's actually kind of rare to see them, and that makes it all the more better. Just once in a while, when it does happen, it's impactful and it's meaningful, because most of the time you're free to just enjoy the space, just enjoy the wilderness, explore, and there's so many secrets hidden in Red Dead 2. I've played Red Dead Redemption 2 in story mode for over 700 hours, and I'm still finding stuff I've never seen before. There are things that I've seen spoiled that I still haven't encountered in the game, even though I have explored this world so much. I've beat it several times over and just explored the world for countless hours, and I'm still finding new things. And that's one of the great things about this game. Ghost of Tsushima, while you can do this, in my experience so far, you run into enemies a lot more often than you do in Red Dead 2. You run into enemies a lot. Like you'll be enjoying beautiful scenery, and then suddenly you're facing off against a patrol of Mongols, and then you kill all them, and then suddenly the music goes back to calm and beautiful, and you're enjoying beautiful scenery again, and you ride your horse for 2 more minutes, and then you find another group of bad guys that you have to fight. So it's a little less serene in that way. There's a little less freedom to just live in the world, and I think that's because the focus and the direction of Ghost of Tsushima is a little more of that of a video game, and that may be the PlayStation influence, the influence of games such as Horizon Zero Dawn and some of the other more huge name games for PlayStation. They may have had some say in the gamified parts of Ghost of Tsushima, because you notice in Red Dead you're walking past and riding past things that you can collect, things you can eat, things you can pick to feed to your horse, and things like that all the time, but they're never highlighted. Whereas in Ghost of Tsushima, you can see things highlighted far from you, telling you, hey, come get this thing, it's valuable. But just look at Ghost of Tsushima. It's absolutely gorgeous. And you see right here is part of what I'm talking about. I'm trying to enjoy this beautiful scenic field at night in the moonlight, and then here's some Mongols fighting a bear. So, and then over to the left there's a patrol that I would have to fight if I went that way. So it's kind of like you can't escape combat as much as you would like if you just want to enjoy the serenity of the world. But the good news is, encounters like this are often short. You take out a couple of guys, and as soon as the combat is over, the music changes back to serenity. You clean off your sword, put it back in its sheath, and then you're right back to enjoying the beauty of Tsushima, which is stunning. It's amazingly well crafted and gorgeous. And we are lucky as PC players to have the ultimate version of this game. After PlayStation players have had it for so many years, we have a version that is even more technically advanced and gorgeous. But, you know, people might have watched this video, you might have clicked on this video thinking this was going to be like a video where I bash one game and prop up the other one, or tear apart everything that's wrong with both games. I'm not going to do that, and the reason I'm not going to do that is I think these are both must-play games. I think they're both works of art that should be enjoyed by anybody who loves games. If you love video games and you love being immersed in those video games, these are both games you should absolutely play. They're huge, amazing worlds that you can explore. There's so much time that you can spend in both of them. If you tried to collect everything and accomplish everything in Ghost of Tsushima, I have no idea how many hours that would take, but I know it would be a lot. And I know for Red Dead, like I said, I'm at 700 hours and I still have a ton of stuff I haven't even touched. I haven't done any treasure hunting. I haven't done any trophy hunting. I have a bunch of treasure maps that I've never gone and found the treasure for. I've never done the shooting challenges. I don't like the shooting challenges. I don't really care for them. I don't play the game for that. I don't play the game to feel like I'm playing a video game. I play the game to feel like I'm a cowboy living in the Wild West. Of course, I'm not a cowboy living in the Wild West, but I love the fact that it's so immersive and makes me feel like I can just forget real life for a while and enjoy being a cowboy out in the wilderness in a time that I didn't get to see, when things weren't so modern, when power lines weren't everywhere and cars and, you know, modern things. I love the beauty of the wilderness and I love exploring it in real life, so of course I'm going to love it in this game. But Red Dead offers a lot of things. You can walk around town and say hi to everybody. You get good honor for doing that, which I love. I'm addicted to it. I talk to everybody. I greet the pets. I greet the dogs, the cats. I greet all the people. And then in typical Arthur Morgan fashion, if I greet somebody and they're nasty, then I threaten them and beat them half to death if they don't respond positively. But that's the beauty of Red Dead. You can do whatever you want. If somebody's mean to you, you can just ride away from them. If you're riding along and you find a guy sitting by a campfire and he threatens you, you have a choice. You can engage him, you can pull your gun out, you can shoot him, murder him, or you can just say, sorry I bothered you, and move on with your day. And he'll let you ride away. He won't come chasing after you. You never know who you're going to meet. That's one of the things that's great about Red Dead that Ghost doesn't really dive into at all, is neutral characters that can swing both ways. So like in Ghost of Tsushima, there are neutral characters, but they are civilians, and they are like in awe of you because you're a samurai, so they honor you and bow to you and call you Lord Sakai and stuff like that, and they really show like a graciousness towards you for defending them and fighting against the Mongols. Whereas in Red Dead, you can be riding along and find a farm. You ride onto the farm, you try to say hi to the farmer goes, hey man, you don't belong here, get out of here. And he puts his hand on his gun, doesn't pull his gun, he doesn't aim it at you, but he puts his hand on his gun and says, hey, get out of here, you don't belong here. And at that point you get to decide what your story is in Red Dead. You get to decide if you're the good cowboy, the bad cowboy, a murdering psychopath, or just a guy riding his horse. And then, of course, you have all the different things you can do besides playing Red Dead story mode and all that. You can fish, you can hunt, you can sell your meat and your skins and carcasses to butchers and different, trappers, different people throughout the world. When you're fishing, there are so many different kinds of fish to catch. There's different lures you can buy, different baits you can use. You can even hunt legendary animals and fish for legendary fish that are in specific areas and are extremely hard to conquer. I haven't done any of that. I haven't gone after all the legendary animals. I haven't gone after all the legendary fish. I don't care to collect trophies. I just want to enjoy the world. I just want to live in that world that they spent so much time creating. And that's what I do. But for other people, they want 100% complete everything, and it's beautiful. You can do that.
Look at you.
So you see, you can even throw the fish back after you catch it if you don't want to keep it. But I'm going to keep it and cook it and eat it later. So you keep the fish, put away your fishing pole, and move on with your day. So now you got dinner for later. There are mods and things that you can get in Red Dead that take the game to another level. Oh, this is something that I love about Ghost of Tsushima. So they have these areas where you can compose a haiku, and it's very serene. Sometimes you can choose the topic, but other times like this, the topic is given to you. You can choose what to focus on each line of the haiku. So it gives you options and you choose one. So we chose Calm Before the Storm. You see how beautiful it is, the music, it's just so immersive. It's gorgeous.
Calm before the storm, overtaking all it sees, rushing to the end.
Now, there's a lot of people who have made videos comparing these two games as far as the physics and the graphics and the textures and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into all that. That's not really why I'm doing this. It's easy to see that Red Dead does water much better. The water is much more detailed and much more realistic than Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima does the wind effects, I think, as good or better than Red Dead. Possibly better. I don't like the wind that guides you as much because I think it's a little overdone. But just the natural wind when the weather changes throughout the world is really, really beautiful. Ghost of Tsushima is unbelievably good. If you've never played it and you own a PC, you don't own a PlayStation, I'd 100% recommend this game. It is breathtaking at times. The combat is really enjoyable. The story is great. The characters are great. It's fantastic. Is it Red Dead Redemption 2? No, it's not. Red Dead ascends to a level that games just don't go to. You know, it has a level of detail and a level of hidden items and the amount of things there are to do and the detail in each thing. The fishing is enough to be a whole game by itself. The hunting is enough to be a whole game by itself. The poker, when you go play cards or play blackjack at a casino, at a bar, or things like that in Red Dead. There's just so much you can do, and it's all good enough that it could be a game all by itself. The poker and gambling in Red Dead 2 could be a game, and it would be a very successful game just by itself, just sitting at the table playing cards, betting your money. it could be a whole video game by itself, but it's just a little side activity in Red Dead that most people never even did. Most people never even took the time to learn it. It's the same thing with fishing. A lot of people didn't fish when they played Red Dead 2. They just played the main story, saw the story, cried at the end, moved on with their life. But if you are looking for the most deep and immersive experience in gaming, it is now 2024. We are halfway through 2024, and the most immersive experience in gaming is still Red Dead Redemption 2 after all these years. It was released in 2018, so it's 6 years old. It's still one of the best looking games ever made. A few months ago, I released a top 10 graphics video, and I had Red Dead as my #1 pick for the best graphics ever. And you could certainly make that argument if you talk about the entire package and everything, but there are some games that have come out in the last few months that are definitely challenging that rating that I gave Red Dead. Red Dead still graphically, as far as an entire package, I think is the best looking game ever made. But there's especially one game in particular that just released that will be my next video that I think is the best looking game I've ever played. It's nowhere near the scope and scale of Red Dead or Ghost of Tsushima. It's a much smaller, much simpler game, but the graphics are photorealistic to a point we've never really seen. So in this video, let's wrap it up. Red Dead Redemption versus Ghost of Tsushima. This wasn't really a showdown versus let me tear one down and build one up. This was more of, they are both works of art. They are both absolutely incredible. If you haven't played either of them, please play them. If you haven't played both of them, oh my god, what are you waiting for? Get them both as quickly as you can. Whichever one you want to get first. Personally, I think Red Dead is a notch above, barely. Maybe not, maybe more than barely, but it's a notch above Ghost of Tsushima. But if because of that, because it's bigger and deeper, you want to play Ghost first, you have totally my blessing to do that. Ghost of Tsushima is incredible. It will immerse you in that world. Tsushima is an amazing place to spend your time. The combat is great. They're both awesome. And I know a lot of times people will set up videos like this because they have a bone to pick with one of the games and they want to tear it down. That is certainly not my intent at all. I'm here to build both of these games up. If you love games, if you love feeling like you're immersed into a world, if you love feeling like the devs really put their heart and soul into what you're playing, these two games, they communicate that as much or better than any games ever made. They just shower you in the love of the devs that they had for the content that they're making. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.